Today, I'll be reacting to your Monday Night Raw hot takes. Every week after Monday Night Raw, I ask you over on X at Conman167 to submit your hot takes, your bold predictions, your thoughts, your whatever else you may have on the show. And every week I sit down, we talk about it, and we dissect whatever it is your hot take may be. And this week was certainly a doozy. We had the return of the Wyatt Six, we had Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins completely destroy each other all over the arena, Rio Ripley continued her reign of dominance over the women's division, and we had a crazy main event with Braun Breaker versus Jey Uso for the Intercontinental title. But we'll get to all of that and more, but before we do so, make sure you leave a like on this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, turn those notifications on, and keep coming back every single day because we upload wrestling videos every single day. Alright, let's look at your hot takes. Roman and Jimmy coming out to help Jey would have moved the story more than Jey losing. Wrong decision. Jey did not need to lose. Jimmy could have come out to help Jey to show him that he's truly there for him. Jey's title win felt like a missed opportunity. Jey Uso should have kept that title. It should have been longer than he had it for. Yes, Jey Uso is no longer the Intercontinental Champion after losing the title to Braun Breaker in the main event of Monday Night Raw, and the fans are rightfully upset. See, it took Jey Uso 14 long years to get to this Intercontinental Championship to finally have a singles title opportunity and to separate himself from his twin brother Jimmy Uso and the rest of the bloodline. But the Yeet Man just simply couldn't be left alone as the Timu bloodline showed up on Monday Night Raw, Solo Sikoa with Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, all there to cause havoc and to essentially cost Jey Uso his Intercontinental Championship. No Yeet. And as much as I would have liked to see Jey Uso hold on to the Intercontinental title and go on to defend this thing a few more times, maybe even have a feud against Jacob Fatu for the IC title, it makes sense as to why Jey Uso lost the title here on Raw. Because we easily could have gone in the direction of Jimmy Uso or Roman Reigns helping Jey Uso retain this title, and that would have made things all fine and dandy within the bloodline again. But the story that we're telling is that Jey Uso does not want to fight alongside of Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso right now. He doesn't want to be sucked back into the bloodline drama, and he wants to do his own thing. And that's why the more that I think about it, the more it makes sense as to why Jey Uso needed to lose the IC title on Monday Night Raw. What this does is it prevents loopholes from forming in the bloodline story and actually allows Jey Uso to fight alongside Roman and Jimmy again, but without actually forgiving them. The same brother and cousin that turned on him. Roman and Jimmy have to work harder to earn Jey's forgiveness once again, and if that ends up happening, it can't just happen because they're like, hey, we saved your title. It certainly would have been a good first step to help reforming the bond between Jimmy, Jey, and Roman, but it didn't need to happen, and now we are going to get the slow burn story going into War Games. Again, I don't love that Jey Uso lost the Intercontinental title, and I hope he gets another opportunity at Singles Gold after War Games, but for now, it gives him a reason to fight alongside of the bloodline again. Missed opportunity? For sure. It feels way too short to take the IC title off of Jey Uso right now, but Braun Breaker is a freak, and at least there is a reason for it happening. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments because I'm certainly not the only one who has mixed emotions about this. This feud has been great. Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins has been one of the most entertaining feuds in WWE, and we're just getting started. Everything Bronson Reed has done lately has turned to gold, from his squashing of R-Truth to taking out Seth Rollins to his last Monster Standing feud against Braun Strowman to now feuding with Seth Rollins. Everything has been amazing. He has been elevated from being a lower mid-card individual to now being considered upper mid-card to almost main event. The way that WWE is presenting him makes him feel like he's one of the most feared wrestlers on the planet. And his tsunami move has been put over in a massive way to where everybody believes that he could legitimately injure anybody he jumps on. The impact that Bronson Reed has with his tsunami finishing move is amazing, and the way that that table exploded on Monday Night Raw, whoo, man, I'm surprised people in the front row didn't get hit with debris. Now, while I imagine in the end Seth Rollins is probably going to walk out of this feud on top, I would love to see Bronson Reed get one win over Seth, or even get the shocking victory in this series of matches. That is, if they have a series of matches. But it is now official, Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed will face off at Crown Jewel, and I really hope that Bronson Reed gets the win here. It could be a lot of fun if this was a series of matches, if this went 3 matches that Seth Rollins in the end did gain the victory. But Bronson Reed getting a victory over Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel could be one of the most monumental moments in his career. One of the best things about pro wrestling is when you start to see a new star being formed on the roster, and Bronson Reed has done an amazing job with every opportunity that has come his way. It makes me wonder if WWE does go back to Australia for a PLE, if maybe Bronson Reed could get an opportunity at the World Heavyweight title. I think a lot of fans would want to see that. But let me know your thoughts. Who would you like to see win this match between Braun and Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel? Both men deserve a win, but Bronson Reed Reed would probably benefit more from it. We need this match next year, WrestleMania 41 or SummerSlam 2025. Jacob Fatu versus Braun Breaker is a money match. On Monday Night Raw, we saw Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu come face to face for the very first time, and let me tell you, we were staring at the future of WWE in that one single screenshot. Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu came face to face on Monday Night Raw for the very first time, and oh boy, could you ever cut the tension with a knife. We were literally looking at the future of WWE as Braun and Jacob looked deep into each other's eyes. You could smell a WrestleMania main event match in the making. And the crazy part about these two individuals is not only are they already at the top of their game, but they're still so young. Braun Breaker's only 26 and Jacob Fatu's only 32. They have a lot of great years ahead of them. There's no doubt in my mind that we are literally looking at two future WWE/World Heavyweight Champions in this image. And whenever they do have an eventual matchup, it is literally going to be one of the biggest matches WWE could put on. Braun Breaker is just about to flip over to being a babyface. We saw it teased just a few weeks back before they turned him back to being heel against Jey Uso. But can you imagine how damn good of a babyface Braun Breaker could be if he was going up against not only Jacob Fatu, but Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and potentially even Solo Sikoa? Braun Breaker fighting the Timu bloodline would be amazing TV, and him spearing all of them, oh, I really want to see it. But the matchup that Braun and Jacob could put on could actually be generational. It would be one that people would talk about for a long time. With their athleticism and their different styles in the ring, it would mesh so well together, and just seeing two behemoths like this come face to face at a grand stage like WrestleMania or SummerSlam would be incredible to see. So when do you think Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker should fight? What pay-per-view is suited for that matchup? Let me know in the comments. This feud with the Wyatt Six is going to save the Final Testament. Karrion Kross and AOP need to do well in this feud. It's their final chance. The Final Testament versus the Wyatt Six is actually the perfect step for both factions to move forward. It's taken a long time, but Karrion Kross and the Final Testament are finally interesting on TV, and the Wyatt Six, after feuding with American Maid, does need something else to do. What is slightly confusing about this feud, though, is that the Wyatt Six have been going after individuals who have seemingly betrayed family, and I honest to God can't remember a moment where Karrion Kross, Scarlett, AOP, Paul Ellering, literally anybody in the Final Testament has ever betrayed their family. So I do need to know why the Wyatt Six are going after this group. It makes sense if they're going after the Final Testament because of their affiliation with The Miz, and Miz recently turned on R-Truth. And if the Wyatt Six are maybe blaming Karrion Kross and the rest of the Final Testament for getting inside Miz's head for causing him to turn on his brother, well then, you know, that could make some sense. And I'm sure if we were to do some more digging in the QR codes and the online websites and all the little Easter eggs that are left behind, I'm sure there is something that tells us exactly why they're feuding with the Final Testament next. But I don't really have those answers right now. All I will say, though, is Karrion Kross continues to win fans over every single week, whether it be his performance in the ring, on the microphone, or in interviews. He seems to be a wonderful individual. And the more people that get behind Karrion Kross, the better he will do in WWE. So don't be surprised if at some point in 2025, we see this man holding on to a mid-card championship. Hell, the agenda might even be bringing Karrion Kross up to the main event scene and having him challenge for the World Heavyweight title. I can't lie, the idea of Karrion Kross versus Gunther writes itself. Rhea Ripley's booking is dragging down the women's division on Raw. Rhea Ripley is being booked incredibly strong in the women's division on Monday Night Raw, but the question really is she being booked too strong? See, this is exactly what happened while she was the women's champion. Everybody seemed to step up to Rhea Ripley, but nobody could ever get one over on her, and as a result, everybody else in the women's division just didn't feel on her level. But here's the thing about Rhea Ripley. It's Rhea bloody Ripley. She's legitimately one of the most popular stars on the roster, and as was seen on Monday Night Raw, she pulls in millions and millions of views just for being on the show. She has 3 of WWE's most viewed reels on their Instagram page and pulls in mads amount of interaction, whether it be on her own personal Instagram, her Twitter, you name it. Anytime WWE features Rhea Ripley in any social media post, the numbers are way up. So with her pulling in those type of views, why would WWE ever want to make her look weak? So the issue isn't directly with Rhea Ripley and her booking, it's more so the fact that Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley have been feuding for a very long time with very minimal development in their story. It makes sense that once the fans start to grow tired of a story that they put everything under a microscope, and something as simple as Rhea Ripley beating down some members members of the Judgment Day, but not truly getting one over any of them is going to annoy fans because we've seen it before. And I imagine this is probably leading to some sort of War Games match involving Rio Ripley and Liv Morgan. I don't know who else could be in that thing. That's another video for another time. But after that happens, after we finish this feud with Liv Morgan and Rio Ripley, we need to move on and we need to send Rio Ripley over to SmackDown. There's so many fresh feuds available for Rhea over on SmackDown. Can you imagine her feuding with Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Bayley, Naomi, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Meechin? The list goes on. And hell, you could even run back Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley down the line if you wanted to. But there's nothing really wrong with the character of Rhea Ripley. It's just her booking has been booked so strong as of late that it's not really allowing anybody else on Monday Night Raw to rise up the card. Everybody's been built up over on SmackDown. It's time to move Rhea Ripley off of the red brand to the blue brand and allow this red brand to develop some more stars. But also another issue that we run into on Monday Night Raw is there really isn't too many other stars ready to step up for that World Heavyweight Championship. So who do you think should be next in line for the Women's World title on Monday Night Raw? Let me know in the comments. Why the F did LWO beat American Maid? They hyped up American Maid. It's a great tag team with potential, and they've been treated like trash since being on the main roster. Or does Rey just not want to put over anyone? Damn Rey Mysterio, what a deadbeat dad who doesn't put over anybody. Bad guy Rey. American Maid really does have a bright future in WWE, but the thing is, now is not their time. Ever since they feuded with the Wyatt Six and lost to them, they've lost a ton of momentum, but right now, the goal needs to be to slowly rebuild American Maid so that when they do decide to push them as a unit, when they do decide to put the tag team titles on them, people take them seriously. And in my opinion, they're doing just that. The vignettes have been awesome, and all they got to do now is just follow it up with some good booking. They obviously could have been booked to win this tag team tournament and go on to face the Judgment Day, but then all of a sudden you're booking the Judgment Day versus American Maid, and that's a heel group versus another heel group. And that heel versus heel dynamic can work from time to time, but for the tag team titles with Judgment Day and American Maid, it's just not the right direction. Now, you could have also had them beat Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee to go on to the triple threat #1 contenders match for those tag team titles. But here's the reality is that they're probably going to put Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio up against the Judgment Day just because of the amount of history that Rey Mysterio obviously has with the Judgment Day, with him being the deadbeat dad of Dominic Mysterio. There's a lot of stories that we can tell within the tag team division. And also Dragon Lee deserves a good push, so putting Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee up against Judgment Day might be the right call. But certainly don't worry about American Maid. They are absolutely future tag team champions. Both Julius and Brutus have top end potential and might honestly be future world champions. But you don't want to rush them along. You don't want to push them too fast, too quick, and have the fans turn on them. So this is absolutely the right call, but eventually their time will come. Chad Gable is more so the person I feel bad for because he was crushing it around the Intercontinental title, and now he's slowly been faded out of that scene and just doing this American Made stuff. So hopefully he gets another title shot before the end of the year. Raw is really getting the hang of the 2-hour runtime. Monday Night Raw is slowly figuring out how to produce a 2-hour show. The pace this week was far better, and all the backstage promos really helped tie the show together, and it didn't feel rushed at any given point. The difference between this week's show and previous week's shows is that the matches actually had time to breathe. They gave the characters opportunity to tell a story in the ring, and they didn't rush it along just to get another match in the ring. And even matches that were cut down for time, like the tag team #1 contenders tournament matches, they even got the chance to go out there and put on an extra few minutes than they would have in previous weeks. For example, Damage Control versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez was actually a very entertaining match up until the DQ finish, and then we also had a great tag team match between American Maid and Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee that got quite a bit of time, and they got to put on a great showing. But the pacing of the show couldn't be more evident than in the main event, where Jey Uso and Braun Breaker had loads of time to tell the story that they needed to. They included the bloodline with it, and it didn't feel like it took away from the rest of the show. But if there is one major issue still with the pacing of Monday Night Raw, it is the commercial breaks. I understand that WWE has to put in the commercials that they do, as they are obviously contracted by the network, but it still feels like a lot of commercials are being shoved into this 2-hour format of Monday Night Raw, as opposed to flowing a little better like it does on Friday Night SmackDown or Tuesday Night NXT. A lot of the time it feels like we're watching people talk and do entrances, and then as soon as the match begins, we cut to commercial break. Now, I don't know about you, but when I watch pro wrestling, I generally like to see a little bit of pro wrestling. So if WWE can just figure out how to put these commercial breaks into this 2-hour format, maybe cut out 1 or 2 promos to allow a commercial break to not go over an actual match, and then we'll be good. But WWE is definitely figuring out the 2-hour format. format. Jacob Fatu versus Jey Uso, WrestleMania 41. Jey not only said the brothers were told to stay away from him, but Jacob now cost Jey the IC title after working so hard to get it. Yeah, Jey Uso versus Jacob Fatu needs to happen at WrestleMania 41. After costing Jey Uso the Intercontinental title that took him 14 years to get, Jey Uso should be absolutely livid. He didn't want Jacob Fatu in the family. He said there's a reason we didn't bring these guys in. And now Solo Sikoa being the reason that Jacob Fatu is in the WWE and essentially the reason why Jey Uso lost the Intercontinental title, you need to follow that up with a big time match. This is going to allow Jey Uso to join Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso to fight the Timu bloodline at War Games, but after that happens, that's not enough. I would almost love to replicate what we did at the Royal Rumble last year, where maybe Jey Uso starts off the Royal Rumble again, and then it is Jacob Fatu coming out at number 2 and going right down to the ring, and we get a little tease between those two. I'll even take just a moment in the Royal Rumble where they stare each other down. Doesn't have to be 1 and 2. And if there was any way that we could get the championship back on Jey Uso before WrestleMania, imagine Jey versus Jacob for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 41. Oh my God, so many people would be so psyched for that match. You might as well make it Bloodline Rules because, oh man, everybody would be watching. And who knows if this Bloodline story is going to devolve over the next little bit, but if Jacob Fatu can be put over as a main event star, him getting an opportunity to face Jey Uso at WrestleMania would be a money match. Book it, Trips. But those are this week's hot takes. Let me know any others you have down in the comments below. And while you're down there, you might as well leave a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications on, and keep coming back every single day because we upload wrestling videos every single day. And a reminder, if you want to follow me over on X, you can at Conman167. That is where we tweet this video out. That's where you guys can submit your hot takes for future weeks. But thanks again for watching, and have yourself a wonderful day.